Good morning, internet. It's Wednesday morning. Hello. Doesn't look that nice over that way. I think we'll go this way. Lots of diesel here still. I find myself in these damp conditions just naturally always sort of tensing up and straightening the arms. It happens whenever you get well, I suppose nervous about the conditions. You tend to tense up, and that's the worst thing that you can do. Your bike's much more capable at recovering from little slips and slides than you are on it normally, so you want to actually make sure that you've got a relaxed amount of input into it, and that you're not fighting the bike. You really got to deliberately bend your arms, relax them too, make sure your grip's not too tight. It's still one thing I find myself having to catch and then immediately just sort of like deliberately adjust. As soon as I do it, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I recognise that sensation in my arms. I've got to knock that off and relax and let it flow a bit better. It's always better for it, always. So one of the side projects I've been working on in my spare time after hours is some work for the Iron Butt Association and their ride list. So their 74,000 strong membership cumulatively have done over, oh, I'd have to guess here, but I think over about 160,000 individual rides. And the approach that they've used to date to list all of them is to maintain a sheet which is essentially ends up being outputted as a text file. It doesn't exist in a structured, properly structured or a database format. It does have consistency to it. It's got some method behind their approach, but nothing which is properly enforced or structurally robust. They've recognised for a while now, as it grows, that it's in need of a different approach, and that needs to be replaced. So in communication with them over the last year or so, they've asked me if I'd be interested in trying to look at developing a ride database system, a web-based ride database system for them. So I said yes a while ago, and then it's been an awfully long journey and time for both them and me to manage to put the time aside and actually get on with it, and mainly down to other commitments, and obviously work's a big one, and overseas visitors and weekend plans and spending time with Stella, and everything. Life just gets in the way. So with the weather being as rubbish as it's been, and with the winter being well and truly here, I found it a bit easier now, and also in discussion with Stella as well, we've been putting less interesting stuff on TV for a while, so that I can switch off to it when we're in front of it. She's still happy to watch that stuff that we're watching, but it means I can, for the most part, tune out and do some work in front of the TV at night. So that's largely how I've been able to, well, it's been a group effort, to be honest. That's how we've been able to crack on with it and get some progress made. So in the last 48 hours or so, we've got it to the point where the administration system is capable of receiving their logins and working through the process of adding a structured ride. It's been an interesting thing for me to go through and draw out their schema, essentially, from what I understand their ride structures to be initially, and also from what I've observed within the ride lists. And I have pulled them apart in quite some detail to understand quite how they do things and group things. So I'd say we're probably 95% there on the first cut. There probably will be some changes, but it's always the way. We'll just find what tweaks we need to chuck in there and try and get them done. But yesterday I managed to get Mike Kneebone, the IBA president, on an online meeting for him to have a quick look through it. This section is always so slippery. Yeah. Yeah, so he managed to have a quick look through it, and we had a chat about how it works and so on. And at the end of that, we were just entering into a bit of a general chat, and I spoke with him about the upcoming North Island 1600 event, which is in October. At the beginning of October. It's the 5th and 6th, I think, this year. And as we did last year, we were sort of able to leverage off some of these contacts that we've got to try and help to streamline the application process for riders who had done the North Island 1600 event, because the North Island 1600 event is deliberately designed to be essentially a 1,000-mile equivalent or more in 24 hours, which gives you the required 1609 kilometers for a basic saddle saw. And it's a well-run event with scrutiny around checking checkpoint photos at the end, checking odometers, and also timing and so on as well. So essentially, with a well-coordinated and well-scrutineered event like that, the IBA are a lot more open to the idea of accepting some of their processes into assuring that the rides have been ridden to the required distances and within the required time, which is great. So I got some verbal acceptance in principle that they will treat the finisher's certificate as enough to qualify for a saddle saw certificate as well. So that's great news for those riders. There are, I think there's about 5 or 6 so far who've expressed an interest in getting hold of the IBA certificate, and Brett and John, the 2 of the organisers, have approved my involvement with helping to get that through, and they're happy to push the coordination of that to me, so that'll be good. That's great news for them. I don't think I'm not doing the 1600 this year at the North Island event. This year we'll drop down to the 800, and I'm going to ride that with Stella. She's going to do her first long distance rally, and she's going to do that sort of lower, well, the entry level one, the 800k one. It's still a good whack. 800k's in one day is still a pretty good ride, and I think we'll find it really quite enjoyable. I think actually doing that together. I'll still be on hand to witness some of the processes and the procedures that they put the riders through, so I'll still be able to properly attest to the checking that they'll be putting people through. For the IBA, that will be an important thing for them. So yeah, looking forward to it. We're starting to get quite a reasonably filled up calendar in terms of rides now. First one we'll be doing will be in September. We're going to be looking at the I don't know, can't remember whether it's the 22nd or 23rd of September, but the spring equinox here. We'll be looking at jumping on the bike and doing our own thing for that. Haven't got a route plan for that one yet. Got a few ideas. I mean, in the past I have actually gone and planned the odd compliant ride without actually doing it, so there's probably a few I can pull back out of the planning drawer and have a look at. So that's on the that's about the 3rd week in September. Then The weekend following that is the DGR, and that also happens to be when the clocks change. So we'll be entering into different daylight hours then, and then the weekend following that is the North Island event. So a few things in a row there. Anyway, then there's nothing formally organised then through until the TT. Oh, sorry, no, there's a 1kc, that's it. The Hamilton 1k cruise, 1,000 kilometre organised cruise, which is typically used as a stepping stone for the North Island 800 riders to be able to just knock it up just a tiny bit and experience what a 1,000 kilometre day feels like. It's a social ride, which is always good fun. So that's the on the 1kc, that's in November, and that's the day after the U2 concert in Auckland. So not quite sure about the logistics of that and how that might all work, because the 1kc is down in Hamilton and it's an early start as well, so we'd have to end up leaving the concert probably on the bike and then head straight down to Hamilton with some accommodation sorted, park up there for a short sleep and then get going. There's nothing riding on that particular ride. There's no real need to do it, apart from, we might want to, but if anything's going to go, it'll be that one this year. We're going to knock anything on the head. Anyhow, beyond that, the next organised event will be around in February, in the last weekend in February, spanning into March 29th, I think it is, and that event is running in the North Island this year. Let's get past this guy. Yeah, so that event's in the North Island this year, and it's running from Ashurst through to Ashurst. The checkpoints have been released. The people are currently examining the routing options available. That's one where you get to entirely plan your own ride and do whatever you want, going and picking up checkpoints. Some are mandatory, some aren't, so the amount of effort that you need to put in, the distance that you end up riding overall, it's all up to you to design your approach. That event's fantastic. It can end up being a really fun, very well paced, cruisy sort of event, if that's what you're looking for, or if you want to turn it into a real slog and try and do everything, then you can try that too, and clearly you can do too much and then not finish. Yeah, so that one's in February, and then beyond that we've got another one planned. This one's at the end of March, 22nd, 23rd of March, and it's the autumn solstice. No, sorry, that doesn't exist. It's the autumn equinox, and that one there will be the fourth of our 4-season rides, having done one in summer last year, and then winter this year a month or so ago, and then we're doing the spring one shortly, and that will be the 4th one. So we've done both of those so far. We've done 2 up with Stella on the back. She's really enjoyed coming along for those. Yeah, pillion saddle saws are an interesting thing. As a rider, it's lovely to have the extra company. It does make the bike a bit heavier and stuff, and maybe not quite so flickable. I think if you do one by yourself, when you get off it, you really feel at one with the bike, but maybe there's a bit less of that going on when you've got someone on the back. But yeah, there's a number of people have sort of commented on how crazy it is to do one on the back, and I tend to agree. I think it's mad enough doing it on the front, but it's even madder doing it on the back. But she seems to enjoy it. Yeah, so good on her. We'll try and get those four finished together, so that we can get a a Four Seasons saddle saw 2-up on it, which I don't know how many of them there'll be. Probably not that many. Maybe I should try and look into that. Yeah, so that's it from me. That's all the news I've got at this point in time. Enjoy your ride and keep it shiny side up. And yeah, stay tuned. See you.